Donald Trump amped up the tension in America.
So he ran 10 years ago, and this guy then 10 years later, somehow you're connecting. Can't you just take responsibility for it?
Hey guys, so Scott Jennings recently appeared on CNN to discuss political violence, and he got into a bit of a debate with this 22-year-old YouTuber, that's how he describes himself, Adam Mockler. Now, Adam Mockler's contention is basically that Trump has created this environment of incendiary rhetoric that encourages violence against, your political opponents. And I think it's fair to say that he pretty much pins this all on Trump, and Scott Jennings has a pretty great retort to that.
Yeah, I'm pretty tired of conservatives gaslighting about the current political environment and Donald Trump's rhetoric when all of this escalation can be traced back to his entrance into American politics. His claim to fame was saying that Obama wasn't born in America. He was the first presidential candidate to have his crowd chant, "Lock her up," about a political opponent. You can bring up the insurrection. Even in the past few weeks, my home city of Chicago, he posted a photo of Chicago being invaded by the Department of War. So the broader point here is Donald Trump endlessly deflects and tries to blame it on the other side when he is the one responsible for amping up the tension in America. And I've spent all of my formative years throughout high school, throughout college, looking to the president, who I'm supposed to be able to look up to, and seeing somebody who's trying to place blame on the left, who's amping up the rhetoric constantly. And yeah, it's not good.
So you think it's Donald Trump's fault?
I love Scott Jennings' face throughout this entire interaction. It's just so skeptical. And this guy looks very nervous. I mean, granted, he's young, but you can see sort of like the anxiety taking over his face as he knows that Scott is waiting to pounce when he stops talking. Anyway, what is this guy claiming? He's claiming that Donald Trump is blaming the left. That's one of his claims. Yeah, Donald Trump is blaming the left, and so then the question is the left doing something wrong? And the answer is yes. I mean, for the last 10 years, the mainstream Democratic platform has been insane. I mean, to be a mainstream Democrat, you have to embrace illegal immigration, you have to embrace transgenderism, you have to embrace, reparations. Like, there's just this whole host of really extreme things that they're demanding from us, and so to push back on that is warranted and what any Republican should be doing. And Trump is from New York, so he talks like a New Yorker. But look at the reaction to Charlie Kirk's death. I mean, Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin was pretty clearly on the left, and people did not respond by burning down cities. MAGA did not respond by threatening people or trying to exact vengeance, an eye for an eye. Erica Kirk forgave the man that allegedly killed her husband. So I think you can see a clear difference in response.
That a deranged leftist climbed up to the top of a building and shot up the ICE facility, not once now, but twice in Texas?
I think it's Donald Trump's fault that America has gotten to this heated place. I think that
no responsibility for the radicalization on the left that's causing this violent outburst.
That 29-year-old is radicalized by online communities and online algorithms. I'm not going to blame that directly on Trump, but he was caught in a lot of online video game algorithms and all these communities. Donald Trump,
but it's Trump's
10
fault.
years ago, Donald Trump amped up the tension in America.
So he ran 10 years ago, and this guy then 10 years later, somehow you're connecting. Can't you just take responsibility for it?
Oh,
on the left.
But let's not do the
No, they can't take responsibility because then they would have to admit that they did something wrong, and they don't want to do that. But essentially what this guy is saying, and what a lot of people on the left are saying, is that, if we didn't want to be in this place where Charlie Kirk can be murdered and people celebrate it, then Donald Trump never should have ran for president. Then the right shouldn't have tried to push back on the left's insanity. So the message here is basically, let us do what we want, or we are going to have some sort of extreme response, and that's going to be your fault. I mean, we saw it with Jimmy Kimmel when he said, the MAGA gang is desperately trying to characterize this guy as anyone but one of their own. No one was desperate. People were just kind of looking at the evidence and saying, hey, looks like he might have had an affinity for, furry transgender stuff. That seems a little bit weird. Looks like his family and his friends are saying that he was trending further left. But anyway, let's continue.
He has to take responsibility because he's a Democrat.
I'm a 22-year-old YouTuber. You want me to take more responsibility than the president of the United States?
I want you to understand.
I'm a 22-year-old YouTuber.
I want you to understand that we are in the middle of an epidemic of left-wing violence. They're attacking ICE. They shot Charlie. It's happening all over the country. We have these Free Palestine people running around trying to burn down the Pennsylvania governor's mansion. On and on
then
and
maybe
on.
the president.
It's not Trump's fault
the president of the
that
United
the left
States
has radicalized to the point of saying we're done talking and we're going to start shooting.
Scott, the data
Scott, is Trump amping down the tensions?
Amping down the tensions?
Yeah, is he taking the tensions down? Is he trying to do that?
I think he's mad that his friend got murdered, if you want that.
The job of the president is to...
So the other guy also does this weird deflection that you see a lot of people who debated with Charlie Kirk do, where as soon as they start to feel that they're losing or they don't really have a good rhetorical comeback on the basis of, like, you know, logic itself or the topic, what they say is, I'm just 22. I'm just a college student. I'm just a YouTuber. You know, why are you directing these questions at me? I can't solve things. I can't take responsibility. Which of course is absurd because he agreed to be on this panel. He agreed to sit opposite Scott Jennings and presumably be challenged on his ideas. And so he is a representative of, you know, the group of people that think this way. Another sort of interesting thing that he says is that, well, these people, they were radicalized by social media, that they were online and they were radicalized by an algorithm, by this pipeline. You know, if that's the case, and it could be the case that people's brains are basically melted by access to Twitter and whatever, why are they voting? Like, doesn't it seem odd that the contention is basically that people are like clay that can just be molded by tech oligarchs at will and that they really have no responsibility, they have no ability to critically think or exert their own will on the world, and yet we're also letting these people vote and decide? Like, that's maybe a side point, but it just seems odd to me that these people are conceived of as having ultimate agency and no agency. Like, when it's convenient, you know, they had no agency. But when it's not convenient, when it's someone like, let's say, Kyle Rittenhouse, who didn't do anything wrong, you know, it was actually this, like, act of terrorism by some sort of radicalized MAGA 17-year-old or whatever. Anyway, so that's one oddity. I feel kind of bad for this guy because I don't think he was really prepared to talk to Scott Jennings. Scott didn't have to push back very hard to make basically his entire argument crumble. And the guy responds as Zoomers have been trained to do by debating on TikTok and YouTube, which is basically to smirk and laugh at his opponent and then to retreat from all responsibility by saying, well, I'm young, so you really can't expect me to, you know, take responsibility for what I'm saying because I'm only 22 years old, which, by the way, is an adult, so I don't really think that that's much cover to retreat behind. But anyhow, let me know what you thought of this debate, if we can call it that, on CNN. Leave your thoughts in the comments section below, give this video a like, hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.